On this week's episode of A Drier Dose of Disney, Jared takes us to Disney Springs' Drawn to Life show.
Welcome to this week's episode of A Drier Dose of Disney. I'm your host, Jared Drier, and today we are taking you back to Disney Springs, and we are going to talk to you about Drawn to Life, the Cirque Du Soleil show over at Disney Springs, which we had the privilege of seeing this last summer, and it was absolutely amazing. So we want to talk to you about that. And of course, we're not going to give you any spoilers, but we definitely want to take you through why this is something you should add to your vacation if you have some free time while you're out there. It is a little bit more pricey, so we're going to talk about that as well. But we've got a lot of really great tips and tricks for you for Drawn to Life, and we want to take you through exactly what that experience is going to be like. But before we dive into that, I do want to ask, wherever you're listening to us, click that pause button and find that subscribe button so that way you're going to get this content delivered to you each and every week. And then if you haven't subscribed to us over on Patreon as a supporter, I do want you to know our biggest Disney tip or trick ever is out there on Patreon now. It is at the top tier because it is such a great tip or trick. And in fact, all of our friends are mad that we posted it because it was such a great tip, and they knew that once more people found out about it, it would probably go away. But we wanted to provide that to our listeners that are supporting the show. So that is out there at the top tier. Do know that is the absolute best tip or trick that we've ever heard of in our entire lives. And it's something we use every time that we go. You're definitely going to want to check that out. The link to Patreon is down below in our description. So go over there and find that. Like I said, this last summer, we were in Orlando. We were there for quite a few weeks, staying at our condo, going to the parks as often as we could. We're trying to knock out all of the Disney restaurants, both at Disney Springs and all of the parks, and we are nearly complete. In fact, I can tell you that the next time we go next summer, we will have that opportunity to finish out the list, including any new restaurants that may pop up between now and then. And we will be able to say we've eaten at every single restaurant at Disney World across the board, and hopefully even Universal, because we've knocked out most of those as well. But going to Disney Springs, we're there multiple times a week. We absolutely love Disney Springs. It's free to go to. We've got an episode on where to park at Disney Springs coming up, so we want you to check that one out. But you definitely want to go to Disney Springs if you have some time there. But the Cirque show is a permanent fixture, at least permanent from my understanding. It is in a fixed building that has a temporary tent on top, but it is there at Disney Springs, and they do shows every single night. And while you're there at Disney Springs, you'll probably see the characters walking around in the pencil costumes, trying to get you go to the Cirque Du Soleil show over there. So we decided that we wanted to try this out at some point. My wife absolutely loves Cirque shows. I have been to a handful of them, and I've enjoyed them all, but none of them have really knocked my socks off until this one. So I want to talk to you about some of the other shows I've seen so you can have comparison. I have seen some non-Cirque du Soleil shows, like one called Cirque Dreams that came through Denver. We did see a Cirque show, Cirque du Soleil, that came through Denver a couple years ago that was very steampunk in its origin, and it was a lot of fun. Again, it was great, but it didn't knock my socks off. My wife has seen O over in Vegas, and she says that is her absolute favorite Cirque show. She said that this one did compare very closely to that. And we have found that really the permanent shows that are always there really tend to be better than the traveling shows. So if you've only seen a traveling show, I encourage you go to a permanent show like Drawn to Life, where the auditorium is fixed, all the props are fixed, and that way it's very consistent with what they're showing you each and every single night. And now I'm also a really big fan of Michael Jackson, and I did get to see the Michael Jackson Cirque show here at the Pepsi Arena in Denver. It's now Ball Arena, but it was Pepsi back then. And that was really cool. I loved his music, but the acrobats and the stuff that they did was just average. So like I said, I was pleasantly surprised when I went to see Drawn to Life. It really did knock my socks off. I thought it was fantastic. And there are a lot of different elements to the show that you are definitely going to enjoy. Now, being that it is part of Disney, okay, so it's on Disney Springs, it's Drawn to Life. They are talking about Disney animation. I'm wearing my animation RSVLTS shirt today, just in honor of that. It is a show that is closely tied to Disney, but you need to know, despite being closely tied to Disney, it is not overwhelmingly Disney, meaning it's not every single scene comes with Disney characters in it. every single scene does not have Disney music in it. In fact, that is one area that I thought that they could have done a little bit better with the show, is to incorporate more of the Disney music. But they did use their own Cirque music, and it was still a lot of fun. Now, the show is about 90 minutes long, so it's about an hour and a half. It's about the length of a short movie. Ticket prices do start at $79. They go up to $159. But there are always specials going on, especially if you're traveling in the off season. So I encourage you, when you're out at Disney Springs, or if you go online, check their specials, and do know the specials don't take a ton off the tickets. They may take $10 or $20 off per ticket, but that could be enough for you guys to make it feasible for you to go financially. So I definitely want you to go check out those specials before you go. And if you have a night you're going to Disney Springs, it is totally worth the 90 minutes and the extra money to go see this. So like I said, I don't want to give any spoilers for the show because you do need to go experience it, but I am willing to at least give you the premise of the show, because you can read this online and find out about it. But the premise is, it is about a girl who is learning to draw and wants to be like an animator. So there is a ton of heart in the story. And honestly, that is what I absolutely love about Disney, is the heart. So when you go back to the classic cartoons and the classic movies, and even some today, they have a lot of heart. They have a lot of relationships between couples or between parents and children. If you've seen the movie Up, you know that the first 10 minutes are heart-wrenching and just make you want to cry right out of the gates. That is the type of heart that I'm talking about. There's a lot of really good elements of relationships and love and bond in this Drawn to Life show. So that is very important. And I think that they did it really well. They did it very tastefully, and they definitely played into it quite a bit with both the villain type character that's in the show, as well as then overcoming that villain and getting to the heart of the show. Now, if you have seen the Disney fireworks show, we have seen almost every single one of them that we're aware of to date. I really love the Old Wishes one that was done at Disneyland for years with Julie Andrews narrating it. My favorite one is Happily Ever After, which is now running again at Disney World, where they have the projection up on the castle. Last year, they did the 50th anniversary fireworks show at Disney World, and I will tell you, it was terrible. It was not very good. They took out all the elements of heart, and they really went a completely different direction and really tried to recognize some different elements from Disney, and it didn't play very well. In fact, the reviews they got for the show for the 50th anniversary were terrible, which is why they cut it short, and they went back to Happily Ever After, because that one had so much heart and so much of the original Disney element. So I say all that to say Drawn to Life is very much in that same vein of having a lot of heart as Happily Ever After. So that was awesome. There are at least a dozen different acts in the show, from juggling to tumbling. They've got unicycles. They've got some really cool Wheel of Death acrobatics on it. In fact, there are a lot of really cool surprise moments that will make your jaw drop. They have this troupe of, I don't want to call them clowns because they're not the traditional circus clowns, but they are the Cirque Du Soleil comedy relief side of the show. And they have a troupe of 4 of them that are in there, and they are awesome. They are really funny, and they really play on a lot of different elements in the show. So it's very engaging. It's a lot of fun. They're constantly out in the crowd. So do know that if you have an aisle seat, they will be interacting with you or coming by very often. And so that is a lot of fun as well. So there's a lot of really cool elements to this show. I will say, when we were there, on one of the most death-defying stunts that they did, there was nearly an accident, and like people were screaming when it happened, and it was insane. And don't get me wrong, the person was totally okay, and they did not get hurt at all, but there was almost a big fall, and they caught themselves and were able to recover from it. But it was definitely very intense in that moment. So know that there are a lot of really cool effects and a lot of really cool stunts being performed, but there is that element of danger and that element of fear that can come with some of those. The show was very engaging and very intense in that level. So we talked about, they did use a lot of Disney characters throughout the show. They did not use very much Disney music. Now, they did have some elements from some of the songs, and that's something that I wish that they would have done more of. But all in all, they do cover a wide variety of different Disney animation throughout the show. So it's very familiar to anyone who is going to be in there. I would say, all in all, this is by far for me my favorite Cirque show I've ever been to. My wife, like I said at the top of the episode, said it is very comparable to O in Vegas. So we would say that this is one of the best shows we've ever seen. But being that it is a little bit pricey, I will say it's totally worth it, but it may or may not be for you. So definitely want to go check that out. So I do want to give you, though, our I Can Do This All Day tip of the day. And this is a shorter episode because I don't want to spoil these elements that are in the show. There is so many elements, from the young girl to her family situation, to the villain, to the stunt people that are doing the tricks and how they incorporate into her building her animation skills and trying to live up to that icon in her life. And you'll get to see all that when you go see the show. I don't want to spoil it, so I'm not going to go through and tell you about all the different elements in the show. It is too good to see, and it is so awesome to discover it yourself and to start looking at the show and pinning in, oh, this is why they're doing it. It's part of that Disney movie or part of that other Disney movie. So I definitely encourage you to try to build those matching connections as you're watching the show. But our I Can Do This All Day tip of the day is that when you're looking to purchase tickets, I do want to encourage you to be towards the center, but you're going to want to be further back. We did get in the center section. We weren't in the highest price tickets. We were in the next tier. We were in the center, but we were down on the lower level, very close to the action. And don't get me wrong, it was really cool to be that close to the stage and to see everything that was going on at that close of an angle. But there were multiple times we found ourselves leaning back and tipping our head back to look around the whole auditorium to see what was going on above us or to the sides. And if you're looking in one direction, you may be missing something else in another direction. So when we left the show, my wife and I did talk about the fact that had we sat in the center back behind the main aisle, so there is one aisle that cuts through the whole middle. If we sat behind that in the dead center, we would have seen so much more of what was going on that, in fact, those are probably better seats than being up front in the center. So we want to encourage you. You want to get behind the center aisle, but still be in the center sections. And if you're close to that center aisle, you won't have any obstructed view in front of you, and you're going to be able to see the whole stage and everything going on there. Like I said, there was a lot of times that we were looking around, all the way around us, trying to see what was going on. And had we been further back, we could have just gotten it with one glance. So I encourage you to sit there. And that is our I Can Do This All Day tip of the day. Save a little bit of money, go in the center section behind the center aisle, and you're going to get a much better view of everything that's going on. So with that, we wish you a magical vacation. We do want to say go visit the Cirq show. We do not have a link for it. We are not affiliated with them whatsoever. I'm just giving you my honest opinion and telling you that it is definitely worth seeing. It is a lot of fun. But so plan that as part of your next vacation. But we will talk to you guys next week as we talk about our parking tip for Disney Springs. Okay? Bye-bye.